Crossovers are a big deal in Grand Summoners, and last year we decided to rank all of them for the year of 2022 to see which crossover was the best in my opinion. And it seemed like you guys really enjoyed that one, so we're gonna do it again. With all the crossovers that happened in 2023. There was some fan favorites that happened this year like Fate and Overlord, so it's a pretty competitive year. And I think this one's gonna be a pretty fun one. So we've actually had a total of 7 crossovers that's happened this year in Grand Summoners Global. We have Fairy Tail. This was actually a rerun crossover of one of my favorite crossovers from 2022. This crossover was insanely good whenever it first came out because it gave you Gray, it had Lucy, it also had Urza. They were all 120 luck, and they were very, very good units. Pretty much all of them were really solid. Of course, some better than others, but overall, great stuff all around from this crossover when it first debuted. When it came back with its rerun, it didn't come back during Dream Awakenings, that wasn't out yet, so all these characters just got buffed. The buffs were okay, you know, pretty decent overall. Nothing too major, especially Natsu's. They didn't even buff Natsu. They pretty much just left him exactly the same. And I would say, like, for a rerun crossover, they didn't really do much. They didn't really add anything too new. I don't even think they added new gacha equips. So I would say this is like an alright one. If this comes back, then it will definitely be like, please never again. Just because they gotta add stuff new. Like, if you're gonna do rerun crossovers and you want to keep people engaged that's played these crossovers before, you can't just add the new event, reset so you get the crystals, and then call it a day. You need to really add like something else to like grab people's attention. Add a raid to it, or like an exclusive Minds boss that's only for this crossover or something. You know, do something to spice things up a little bit. We can't just have the same thing over and over. Fate. Oh man. So Fate, I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, godly crossover. This is one of the crossovers that I thought we would never have in GS just because Fate is so massive. And they really picked some banger characters. We got Saber Alter, Shiro, Emiya, Rin. Next time, if this crossover comes back, I really hope we get more characters, like possibly a Gilgamesh. If it's Gilgamesh from like this movie / arc, I think it will be Kid Gilgamesh. It won't be the adult one. Either way, this crossover was amazing. Added some fantastic units, very meta units too. Also was the second Ascended crossover Global got, and they just went absolutely wild, popped off with everybody. I loved it. 10 out of 10 crossover, one of the best that GS has ever had. Goblin Slayer rerun happened, and this thing was horrendous. It had Dream Awakenings, which was cool, but it didn't add anything new, didn't add any new equips, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it didn't add any new equips. I think a new farmable equip, but that was about it. Maybe that wasn't even there. That could have been from last time. But yeah, this crossover, I don't like it anymore. If you're gonna bring this crossover back, you gotta have innovation. If you don't innovate and you don't add new stuff to it, I don't want it. Hell's Paradise was a controversial crossover, I want to say, especially because we were coming off the high of Fate. To think another crossover would like kind of top that or match that in terms of like the level of hype or even like how meta and how strong the characters were. Hell's Paradise was kind of a notch down from that. The characters from it were really good still. Gabimaru, an insanely good fire attacker. Sagiri, one of the best earth units in the game. And then Yuzu's definitely the best from the entire batch. Huge physical res down, great Archgen, overall just a fantastic unit. And also, like, they were pretty fun to use. Like Chobe, fun unit. Gabimaru, really fun, love his animations. For it to be what it was, I would say it's an alright crossover. I wouldn't say it's pretty good, definitely alright. Like, nothing too out of the ordinary here, but very solid what it did. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if it came back, but I think they just gotta do something else. Like I mentioned with the other ones, adding something to kind of help people get more interested, like a raid specific fight or whatever, would definitely amp up the hype and probably push it into the pretty good tier. Overlord, this one was heavily requested for so long, and it finally happened once we got to the Ascended era. And I would say overall, Overlord got done really well. However, I know nowadays people will say that it got done really dirty, especially when it comes to the Fate crossover and how newer units came out in JP, and pretty much everybody from Overlord has almost been power crept to an extent. Not to the point to where they're like just not usable at all, but definitely just straight upgrades from the Overlord characters. I'm gonna put it in pretty good just because of that. Like, I think that whenever this crossover comes back and we get them buffed, which by the way, we're definitely gonna see these guys buffed at some point. I mean, who knows when, probably within like a year and a half, possibly to 2 years. But for right now, I'm gonna put it in pretty good. Rezero is next. Rezero got buffed. Didn't actually get the Dream Evolutions. Did they have Dream Evolutions on JP? I think they did have Dream Evolutions on JP, but we did get a buff for them. And this crossover, I will always say is I won't ever say please never again, because at least it adds a specific raid boss to the game that is unique to Rezero. Rezero is the only crossover that's ever done that, and I do applaud them for that, because that is one of the things that I always request is just, you know, do something that is unique and cool for that crossover that keeps people engaged. I mean, I wouldn't want to see this again, but if it does come back, you got to add a new character, a new Ascended unit at least, plus Dream Evolution everybody, and possibly add like a new raid boss or something too. And last but not least is Tensura. Tensura, whenever it came the first of the year, gotta be honest, I would say please never again. I hated it whenever it came first of the year, because it didn't really add anything. It buffed up the characters, and it made a lot of the characters actually really good, like Shion and stuff like that. Got some major buffs, but it wasn't enough to keep me engaged over the long term. However, I will say that with the Ascended units, this definitely got buffed up to pretty good, because Demon Lord Rimuru is freaking cracked. He's so fun to use. Extremely cool unit. Diablo's also pretty cool. Just wish his super art was a little bit faster. Malim is definitely kind of like the only one that I'm a little bit hesitant about, but for the most part, really enjoy the Ascended one. But yeah, that's my list. Overall, I think I'm pretty happy with it. To be honest, I could easily move up Overlord to Godly, because whenever this came out, this was an insane crossover. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna move it up to Godly. I would say Overlord definitely deserves that spot. It was a great year for crossovers. Fate, Overlord, extremely hype. Even Hell's Paradise was a really dope one. When it comes to next year's crossover, I hope we get a lot more new ones. It seems like this year we got, what, 3 new ones? So maybe if we can top that and get 4 new ones next year, that would be insane. We already are starting off with one, which is Shangri-La Frontier, so yeah, would love to see some new additions come to Grand Summoners Global. Also, some video game crossovers or something as well would be sick, instead of just anime crossovers all the time. Either way though, fam, that's gonna be it for this one. Tell me what you guys feel about my rankings, or if you would change anything. I think some people would definitely put ReZero higher, or Fairy Tail higher, or even Hell's Paradise at the very bottom. You guys can let me know all that type of stuff down below in the comment section. Also, this tier list should be available to everybody, so you can make your own crossover tier list if you want to. Either way though, fam, that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you all for coming out, and last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.